So, Poppy Playtime Chapter 3 just came out, and in this video I'm going to be talking about it, and I'm a bit late to talking about it. There's a lot of people who have been talking about it for a long time already, but this video is mainly just going to be talking about how it basically saved itself, and it could have even saved a good amount of mascot horror in general. I'm not saying it completely saved it, but it may have partially saved it, which is the first thing to talk about is why does mascot horror actually need saving? Well, the main thing is there's content farms, which are basically YouTube channels that just pump out endless amounts of easy to make, effortless videos made for kids. And usually they're pretty bad, but they made ones about horror, so they're horror videos for kids. I'm working on a video explaining why that exists, but that's going to come in a few weeks. And basically, those made things like Poppy Playtime well, it mostly focused on FNAF, but it made things like FNAF feel basically a lot more like a kids game, meaning kids started playing it, meaning a lot of mascot horror games like Garden of Banban made themselves so they're for kids but market themselves as horror, which is really annoying. One of the main producers of those content farms is a YouTube channel called Enchanted Mob, and a while ago, they released making a game, which was Poppy Playtime, and it seemed like it was just going to be a game that they were going to make so they could make more content farms, and the first chapter of it was pretty bad, because it basically was a walking simulator. One thing is, in this video, I'm probably gonna bring up the other YouTuber Pastra a lot, because they talk about Poppy Playtime a good amount of times, and they have some good ideas about it. But they did make a video on how one chase scene's amazing, and that video is still valid, even though the rest of Poppy Playtime is a bit bad. And then, Chapter 2 came out, and it was trying a bit harder to be scary, but you could tell they were trying to make it not so scary that kids wouldn't be a part of it. And then the Chapter 3 teaser trailer dropped, and just watch this. You can tell that they obviously weren't making this for kids. So that meant people got a lot more excited. And now Chapter 3 is here, and it is absolutely amazing. There are problems I have with it, and it seems a lot of people have similar problems. Again, one thing, most of these ideas on what makes a game good, I heard again from the YouTuber Pastra, because they made an amazing 4-hour video. So basically, this is a shorter thing. I talk about most of the same stuff, but I've got some other things, I've got some theories, but one of the main things that makes this chapter good is they don't just have a massive enemy like Huggy Wuggy or Mommy Longlegs that's attacking you. They have a slow stalking creature that's chasing you, but not fully chasing you. And something that a lot of people have brought up is that catnap isn't a big enough part of they aren't a big enough part of the actual story, because you barely see them, but they are very much a massive part, because there's a good amount of scenes where when you're just there, you see them walking by. To be fair, those scenes can get very glitchy. There's multiple times where if you just go too far when that scene is happening, you can just see them phase through a wall, but other than that, you do see them a good amount of times, and that's their character. Unlike Huggy Wuggy or Mommy Longlegs, which are just Huggy Wuggy was an outright monster that was just attacking, and then Mommy Longlegs was just playing with you and wanted to see how long it would take for you to die. But then catnap is obviously, like Ollie says in that chapter, they're basically it's their hunting ground, and they're a cat-based enemy, and cats kind of stalk their prey first. So it makes sense that they would just stalk you and slightly be there. Also, they etched all those notes into the wall, so every time you read one of those, it was from Catnap. And that entire area, it's all because of Catnap. Catnap was the one who basically controls everything there, so they do have a big presence. The other thing that makes this chapter is great, basically, one of the things that's amazing about it is a lot of they mentioned this in the past stream, is basically they made sure that, except with the exception of the final boss fight, that you're able to learn how to do everything pretty easily and in a safe environment. So when you actually need to know it, like when you actually need those skills you learned, it's easy and you just have those skills. So it's very interesting how it works. And like as an example of that is in the Home Sweet Home area, you learn all about how to do all of these different puzzles with the batteries, and then later you need those skills when you're in the school area with Miss Delight. And also, fun fact about that area, turns out Miss Delight was originally meant to, like, they actually got an update pretty soon after, because whenever I was like when I in my experience of the game, I saw it opening day, so I just saw the version where every time the lights went out, they moved, which turns out they updated it, and now they're an enemy kind of like SCP-173 that only moves when you're not looking at it, which is a pretty good change. It seems like most people have agreed that it's a change for the better. But there's a lot of things about this chapter that they do right. There's a lot of interesting random symbolism, like the prototype shrine, which also that's going to be really cool. I can't wait to see what the prototype looks like, because they said the prototype shrine, it's made in their image, and so it's basically there's going to be a prototype that looks like that but scarier, so I can't wait to see. My hope is there's going to be, like, because in the prototype shrine there was like a skeleton hanging out of the mouth. I hope that's incorporated in the final thing, and like what's controlling the prototype is just like a massive, like, bloody carcass coming out of the mouth of something. So and also there's going to be all the past bosses incorporated in it. But another thing about that makes this chapter really good is because the lore is much darker than other things. Like, basically the lore was pretty average, dead kids turned into rampaging monsters lore. Basically, it seems like most horror games lore has to do with dead children now. But this one they actually made interesting because of the whole backstory of Catnap being basically saved by the prototype and then forever worshipping the prototype. So it's much darker. Another amazing scene is the Dog Day scene, which is absolutely insane because there's a lot of implications that it has. It implies that all the little smiling critters were eating the last of the big smiling critters. So that's really cool and creepy. But the actual scene where they crawl inside of them and control them, that one's so weird because it shows how that's a character that is purposefully not hurting you. They've just been tortured by Catnap, but they're being twisted and contorted from the inside by all these little minions of Catnap. And you can even, a small audio detail is you can actually hear him choking and gagging and retching on the little critters inside of them. So that's a pretty good scene. Now time to talk about the final boss fight, which is the main bad thing about the chapter, which is The last boss fight, it's all right, but it's a bit weird for the reasons that, like, you basically, it's very different from everything else. They're a lot less slow and stalking. The cool new design for them's amazing, though, like the new design that they added. But they also did some, like, they made it really weird because they didn't give you enough time to learn those concepts in a safe area like they did the other things. This is something they really brought up in that pastor stream I keep mentioning, which, by the way, go watch that because basically everything I said, they said in greater detail there. This is basically, most of the things I say here are just a brief overview of what they said there because they talked and played the game for 4 hours, so I'm kind of shortening that down. But yeah, they didn't give you enough time to safely learn that part, which is probably one of the only downsides. There's not many other bad things about the chapter, at least in my opinion. But yeah, that's going to be kind of the end of the video. I hope you liked it. Please subscribe and goodbye.